No more questions. Thank you very much for the time and effort you spent. Yes, fully understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ian, on behalf of Donna, please.
I take it I push the button to talk or not?
It's green. If it's green, you're all good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yep, carry on.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today.
Yep.
China and India are both exempt from emissions control, and yet through Littleton Port, which is 65% owned by the Christchurch City Council, 2.5 million tonnes per year of coke and coal is exported to China and other countries. The utter hypocrisy is that in return, the long-term plan is proposing significant taxes to reduce emissions and to pay for mitigations here. The impact on the poor and families will be devastating, and here is why this is evil. New Zealand emissions were only 0.087% of the world output in 2022. China, 30.7%, and they're building two coal-fired power stations a week. And India, 7.6%, and they're the world's biggest producers of milk. And if we burned the 2.5 million tonnes of coal here that's exported, that would make up 20.4% of New Zealand's total yearly emissions. A 371,500% increase in CO2 emissions since the start of the Industrial Revolution has not had any effect on climate metrics. And how do we know that? The rate of sea level rise in Brest in France since 1807 has not changed. The rate hasn't changed. The rate of sea level rise since 1922 at Littleton has not changed. And the same applies to multiple sites around the world. There's over 100 of them. You can go onto the NOAA site and find them yourself in Poland, New York, Sydney, Auckland. The list is endless. It seems endless. Selwyn District Council Commission report shows no change in the mean and extreme rainfall since 1910. There's a summary there you can read for yourselves. Also shows since 1955 there's been decreasing strength in winds, westerly winds over the South Island. The references are all supplied. NIWA records since 1909 show in Dunedin maximum, average and minimum temperatures, and it's a linear increase not related to emissions. And in Dunedin it's 0.02 degrees centigrade per century increase in maximums. Notice that the minimums are the ones that are increasing the most, and there's a reason for that. In Lincoln, it's gone up 0.62 degrees per century at a maximum. So how can taxes, including on the poor, to reduce emissions and to build mitigations be warranted? These are floods and droughts in the USA since 1895. This is official data from NOAA in America. The IPC says that hurricanes and tornadoes show no changes attributable to human influence and that floods are not getting worse. You can read that yourself in that link. This is not surprising since according to the IPCC, human influences have a 1% impact on radiation effect. So what makes you think you can achieve any of your goals via tax-funded mitigations against these historic measures of climate? You're using climate models that have got over 200% error in predicting temperature, historic temperature, so what makes you think you can use and predict the future? By the way, this data was produced from a man who won the prestigious science award while he worked for NASA. He put the satellite into space that records the Earth's temperature, so the weather balloons and satellites agree, but the models are over 200% in error. If you want to avoid your hypocrisy, well, here's some good news. As I have shown, human emissions have had no effect on climate metrics, and here is the reason for a slow increase in temperature and sea level, and it has nothing to do with man. This is from the Lincoln University Farm Technical Manual, and they quote another reference. The little ice age of only 270 years ago explains everything. The temperature is still increasing. It was the coldest only 270 years ago, and since then it has been warming. We couldn't have caused the warming after the previous ice age, as the Industrial Revolution began in 1750. So what makes you think we are causing the temperature rise now? Now, I'm about to run out of time, but I've got another 5-minute segment. Do I keep going or stop?
Carry on, this is very interesting.
Okay, thank you. The Little Ice Age began...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you've got two
slides.
slides. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The Little Ice Age began in the 1300s, and it peaked around 1750. And we are still recovering from it. The arrows aren't showing, unfortunately. And it's not progressing. But it's not progressing up there.
Try again.
Try again.
I can't see the slides advancing.
Again. We've done something here.
Pardon?
Try again. We've just done something up here.
There we are. 1750. It peaked in 1750, and we're still recovering from it. There's the Industrial Revolution in 1750. These are the oldest temperature records in the world, and they commenced when the thermometer, just after the thermometer was invented in around 1654. So when we transpose one over the Little Ice Age graph, they actually they correlate extremely well with the idea that it's the Little Ice Age, the warming after the Little Ice Age, that is highly correlated with fact. These are the oldest sea level records. You'll see they're highly correlated with the impact of warming after the Little Ice Age, as do 110 years of Lincoln's temperature records. There is no justification for climate change to warrant an increase in rates. To do so shows that ideology is driving the agenda, not truth. There's a slide that's missing, unfortunately, which is a shame because it shows in a survey that was done in America, it's the young people that are realising that this whole thing is a scam, and the popularity of the common narrative now is down to 50%, having been at 80%. So here's an example of a French electric police van powered by a diesel generator. It's a screaming example of how ridiculous it is to be taxing your own people for a theory so desperately short of evidence. By the way, the rise in temperature of the Little Ice Age explains the slow rise in carbon dioxide. And you need to watch that very short video. I'd love to show it to you now, but it would use up my time. Secondary school physics would show you why the CO2 is going up and how it's directly related to a warming climate as a result of coming out of the Little Ice Age. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got some questions. Tyrone?
Sure, thank you, Ian, for your presentations. Very interesting. So I'm the ward councillor for Banks Peninsula, and last winter we had multiple storms that wiped out roads, threw rocks up onto into villages, and caused a lot of damage. And that's, that's the weather. But I'm interested, regardless of why you think that happened, should we or should we not do anything about that?
Well, you should do what you've always done, because nothing's changed. The climate has slowly changed for reasons I've just explained. But Ian Wishart, an investigative journalist, has done an excellent review of the NIWA data and found it terribly wanting. And he's gone back through the papers, back into the 1800s, about 1860, and has seen there were far bigger storms in the past than Gabrielle, for example. So unfortunately, the data that you've got access to is not complete, and it will show you that we had more storms in the past than we are now. So just do what you've always done.
So you agree that we should just deal with the impacts of the weather patterns that we're having, because it's not data, it's actually the real life impacts of things.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is nothing's changed. So use the same technology and same techniques as you've always done. If there's a problem and we've got technology, then you should be doing something about it. But don't base it on man-made climate change, because that's fallacy.
Well, I think we could agree on that. I mean, not
some
of your points, but
Celeste,
do what we do, because
that's right.
Things happen.
But don't include climate change as part of your reasoning. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you. Celeste, please.
Thank you. do you have any suggestions for how we should approach the increasing number of storm events? Like, do you have any idea of what might be driving that? If it's not linked to climate change, do you have your own
Storm events, did you say?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
know that they're increasing in intensity and frequency. So, what do you think's driving that?
Well, I would highly dispute that.
You don't think we're
No,
getting
totally.
storm events?
That's in total contradiction from the data that Ian Wishart's collated, and with what NIWA has collated, and the data from around the world does not support that in the slightest.
What did you make of Cyclone Gabrielle?
That was just one of many cyclones. I grew up in northern Australia, and we used to get cyclones, and they happen, but they're not well supported by the historic account. And you need to look at Ian Wishart's data, which totally discredits the claim that Gabrielle was a big storm. It wasn't.
I'm sure if you're living in the North Island, it was a big storm. But thank you.
Thank you. Celestial, it's not Celestial, Aaron.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And some of that explains why the worst cyclone in history is 1970 and the worst flood was 1931 in the world, those ones. But that aside, would it not be better that instead of spending all the money, the billions of dollars on climate change, we spend it on pollution? Like, no one agrees that jumping on the end of a tailpipe's a good idea. I'm thinking no one's into plastic in the ocean. Like, those are the big issues. Would that be a better spend of that money that you refer to?
Totally. Pollution and carbon dioxide are two totally different matters. Most of you won't know that right now I'm discharging 40,000 ppm through my breath. The amount of carbon dioxide that's in the air right now is 420. Can you see the carbon dioxide coming out of my mouth? No. So why do we call it pollution? Carbon dioxide is actually plant food. And what I do for a job is convert carbon dioxide into high quality protein. It's essential for life. And we wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for CO2. So we can't be demonising it. And when the media and the academics go and put photos in the paper, etc., and on our TVs of this belching material coming out of chimneys, that's actually steam. It's got nothing to do with carbon dioxide. It's all about fear-mongering. And in my job for over 40 years, I've had to use truth to come to conclusions. And I dare say so do engineers and so do pilots. And we need to use truth in this before we waste money on things that will achieve nothing except, unfortunately, bigger debt for the community.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. Thank you. Andrew, please.